Hello, everyone. My name is Michelle Lloyd Page. I'm the founder of Preach Sista and the host of Refill with Preach Sista. So glad that you are here with us today. We'll be getting started in just a moment, but before we do, I wanted to take just a few seconds to remind you that you can find Preach Sista on social media. You can find us at the official Preach Sista Instagram account. You can find us on Facebook in both our public page and our private Refill with Preach Sista group. That private group is just a way to keep the refill conversations going between tapings of shows. And then you can also find us on YouTube at the official Preach Sista YouTube channel. And then, of course, you can always find us on preachsista.org, our website. But we're so glad that you are here with us today. Refill is about creating a space where we can have replenishing conversations and conversations that speak to our soul, conversations that will fill us up, because let's face it, life is complicated and life is hard. And it's always wise to listen to people who've been there, done that, and have won the race. And so today we are excited to have with us Minister LaTanya Wheeler. She is the founder of Chicana Sisters. And if you haven't found her on Facebook, you need to look her up on Facebook because she is all about replenishing and refilling our sisters. So without further ado, please help me welcome Minister LaTanya Wheeler. Hello, everyone. I'm so glad that you are here with us today. And as I said just a moment ago, I'm super excited to invite my friend LaTanya here because she is just an awesome woman of God. We've been doing this ministry journey together for a little while now.
Yes.
I'm trying to think of how many years that we've been having conversations and pouring into each other's life, but I couldn't come up with the year. So that just means it feels like it's always been happening. and that just makes me happy. Just started thinking about how we've been working with each other, encouraging each other. And in fact, one of the reasons why I have the Refill with Preach Sista show is because I've just been encouraged by the work that you do with Chicana Sisters. Can you tell us just a little bit about about Chicana Sisters and its goals and what you're trying to do through that?
Yes. Chicana Sisters is a community women's group ministry that I began back in 2017, I think it was. So it's not very old, hasn't been around a long time. But my goal with Chicana Sisters was to bring women together who didn't necessarily belong to the same church or the same faith, even maybe women who were of all types of backgrounds, Black women, white women, Hispanic women, women who just wanted to come together and grow, support one another, and just be uplifted and build a sisterhood. And so Chicana Sisters was developed. We started out with a book reading club. And so we just do all kinds of things that allow us to stretch ourselves, our minds. We promote health and we promote spirituality and we promote sisterhood and service. So that's kind of the objectives of Chicana Sisters. And it's been a difficult journey sometimes. But it's been worthwhile, and I'm just really, I guess, fired up about where it's going.
Yes. So tell me about those times. You just mentioned that sometimes it was a little difficult, and starting in 2017, where we are 3 years away from that. So there's a lot of things, and I know Chicana Sisters, in the same way that Preach Sista has gone through some different iterations. What were some of those things that were challenging for you?
I think some of them were inner challenges. I knew that I had the heart and the passion to want to serve women and to bring women together and to accomplish some of the things that I just spoke about. But there was self-doubt there. There was just a sense that what they call imposter syndrome, a sense that, do I have the skill to do that? Do I have the notoriety to do that? Do people know me? Will they come out and participate. And the other thing that was difficult was when people weren't participating, then feeling that maybe I was on the wrong track. Maybe I wasn't doing it well or doing what I should be doing. And so those were some of the things that kept me kind of going forward and then going backwards. But I just kept pressing on, and God's been good.
That's one of the things that I have appreciated about your work with Chicana Sisters is that you're always willing to accept feedback about how things are going, and then to tweak it, to say, you know what, okay, this wasn't working exactly the way that I thought it was going to be working, or that season has passed.
Yes.
And when that season passes, then you come up with this wonderful idea. And I have to tell you, there are times when I'm just godly jealous about the different ideas that you have. It's like, it's the book groups, it's the just the gatherings, the meetups, all of that, those things that you're doing, and the way that you're just persistent in this work. Because there are times, and I think it's maybe not especially as women in ministry, but I know as a woman in ministry, that those times of self-doubt just keep knocking at the door.
Yes.
And you're wondering, man, okay, is God really calling me to this? Is this really something God has placed on my heart? Or is this something that's in my imagination? Is just this something that I want to do? I come back to reality, and when I say, okay, but why would I want to do this if God didn't ask me to do it?
Exactly. Because this is hard, and it can be, sometimes, although it's exciting at times when maybe you aren't getting the participation or different things, it can be heartbreaking. It can be discouraging. So nobody wants to put themselves through that.
No,
right.
Nobody wants to put themselves through that. But it's that testing of ourselves. For me, it's a testing to see, okay, am I really going to trust God, or am I going to trust myself? Am I going to trust what I think should happen, or am I going to trust what I believe God has put in me in order to carry that out? And I have to make sure that I discern those different things, and not to confuse the process with the outcome. Because there's this process of ministry, but then there's also the outcome of ministry. And I think I want so much have a particular outcome in my head that I forget that it's more about the process. It's like God is saying, okay, will you trust me in this? Will you trust me in this? Will you trust me in this? And that's something, as I said before, that I really appreciate about you, is because you demonstrate that trust over and over again, and the retooling and the rethinking. It's like, okay, what can I do now? Because I think you're not only listening, you're listening to what God is calling you to do, but you're also listening to what are women saying that they want.
Exactly.
Instead of saying, here, you need to do this. You're asking, what do you need? What would be helpful? And I think of those things that are the official Chicana Glory, Chicana Sisters work, but then also kind of the unofficial ones, right? So the health group that you have, the ministry group that you have, there's the Bible study that you have. It's always asking women, what is it that you want? And trying to bring people together from different faith traditions, bringing different churches. And that was one of the things that really got me excited when you said that you were going to launch this, that it wasn't going to be housed in a particular church, because all too often there's a women's ministry that's housed in a particular church, and then it's almost like only the women from that church feel comfortable there.
I wanted the community of women to come together. I wanted women. So often as women, you'll hear people say, well, I don't have too many lady friends and things like that. And so the idea of women being friends sometimes can have this bad rap that you can't trust other women, but I've never felt like that. And I just wanted women who were throughout the city to be able to come together and realize that we have much more in common than we have different, and that we're stronger together. And, I really believe that women are the heartbeat of life for so many people. I mean, for our husbands, for our children, for our communities, we do so much. We're the glue that holds so much together in life. And so we have to be able to work together and support one another and lean on one another and trust one another and grow. And so, yeah, that was important to me, that it didn't just include my little clique or my little circle, but that it was open to all women.
Yeah. And I like that it's a multiracial group.
Yes.
It's not just Black women, not just white women, and people aren't looking at each other crazy when they're
Right.
coming together, but it's this really nice mixture. It really is a community ministry, and I think it's a wonderful pattern.
Yes.
You know, I'm going to switch the conversation just a little bit. You know, we've
Okay.
talked about all this work that you've mentioned that it's not always been easy sometimes. Have you ever experienced burnout or passion fatigue? I know you are so passionate about helping women and encouraging women. Have you ever experienced passion fatigue or felt like you're on the edge of burnout?
Oh, yes. Oftentimes trying to do too many things at one time can, cause you to just be fatigued physically, physically, mentally, trying to make things where everybody has something that they can plug into. And so this group wants to study the word, and so you're trying to run that. Well, this group really likes to read, so you're trying to run that at the same time. And this group likes to meet up. And so you find yourself Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you have something going on. And if you don't learn to pace yourself, you really do find that you burn out. And unfortunately, the ministry has not grown to the point yet where I want it to be, where I'm not the center part of everything that happens, because ultimately my desire is that Chicana Sisters would be an interactive ministry that that the people own, and that, if there's a group that enjoys reading books, that that there's a woman who runs that piece of it, or if there's somebody who loves Bible studies, then that could be going on simultaneously, but it's not one person who's doing that. So we're still growing to that, and right now, so I find that I can have some passion fatigue if I'm not careful.
So when you've run into those times where it's passion fatigue, how do you encourage yourself to keep going? What fills you up? Because if if ministry can be draining, or you're close to burnout or passion fatigue, because all that you've mentioned is on top of having a full-time job, on
Yes.
top of being a wife, on top of having children, on
Yes.
top of being active in your church. So all of that you mentioned is on top of everything else. So what
Yes.
do you do to take care of your mind, your body, your soul? What fills you up?
Well, and that's part of what Chicana Sisters tries to do is work on the mind, body, and soul. So I have to be an example of that, and I try to. As far as my mind, I try to read. I try to take quiet time. I used to think mindfulness, I was really against mindfulness, but I've found that it really is very helpful. And what I particularly like is guided mindfulness, where the person leads you in kind of calming your brain, because I can become an overthinker or a rapid thought type person. And so that helps me to just replenish and refresh and calm myself down and take one step at a time. I have to remind myself that it doesn't have to all happen at once, that I can lay things brick by brick. So part of what actually helps me is to plan out, if I have all these different ideas, rather than trying to do all of them at once, I try to pick a good place to start, and then realizing that I can grow into the other pieces. The ministry can grow into the other pieces. So planning relieves a lot of stress on my part when I'm able to do that. Exercising, or it doesn't have to be formal exercise, even just going for a walk or riding my bike. nothing big. I'm not at the gym lifting weights or anything like that. But that simple type of exercise, taking a walk, can really help me.
And I know there have, because I stalk you on Facebook as well, that you often go out to the lake to
Yes,
see the
yes,
water out
yes,
there, and that's one of the benefits of
yes,
living in Muskegon, is that we are so close to Lake Michigan, the big lake that's out there, and
yes,
can just go, and it can be so serene
yes,
watching the water come in, and the water is so high now, and it seems like the waves are so active. So just even doing something like that, getting out into nature,
mm-hmm.
and seeing how God is just showing off. That's what I
Yes,
call it. Is that
yes.
God is just showing off, and I think recently I took a trip, and one of the things that was nice about the trip is that it was going by the highway, and the colors, right? The leaves are
Oh,
starting to
beautiful.
change colors. So the golds and the reds and the
Yes,
browns and the greens, and looking at some of those trees that are still very green and wondering,
mm-hmm.
okay, when will they turn? And then
Mm-hmm.
knowing that there are some pine trees that are never going to turn colors, but
Yeah,
just seeing that, and pausing to to really notice those
yes,
things. I found that
yes,
that's one of my more recent mindfulness practices, is just
yes.
to stop and pick up a rock, pick up a
Right.
leaf, and really look at it, because there's probably more there than I actually recall, or even just going outside and looking up, because so
Correct.
often we're looking straight ahead, or we're going to the car to get in the
Mm-hmm.
car to go someplace. You're looking at the signs, but
Mm-hmm.
not really just stepping out and just looking straight up.
Yep.
I remember some years ago, someone told me, so Michelle, you should always look up, because you will never see that scene again,
See.
because
Oh,
the
yeah.
sky is
Yep.
always changing.
Changing.
You'll never see that same cloud formation
Yeah.
again. And so that's something that I have found that has been helpful
And
as well.
I even recently discovered that me and my husband bought an RV, and getting away and just going where there's not a lot of noise, not a lot of
Mhm.
activity, not the daily rush, and just literally being out in some wooded area, sitting around a fire, or taking a walk around the park, or going to the water, or riding the bike around the area. I can't even tell you how replenishing that is. You come back and you just feel renewed, like, okay, I can make another work week. But it was such a discovery for me that we went and upgraded our RV. We
Oh, wow.
we had an RV, and then we went on like 2 trips, and I discovered, man, I really like this. I like this camping thing. I
Wow.
like this getting away from everybody thing. So we upgraded our RV. So
Well, we're, hubby and I are going to have to flag you down one time when you are on a trip to see what that's like. Cause I'm still like, I don't know about RVing. I don't know about
well,
RVing,
I don't do the
but I wanted to
driving, so
try it.
maybe it's not as relaxing for him as it is for me. But
Well, I don't want to drive it, but I think hanging out would be, but I do think getting out, there's someone else that I know, I think almost every weekend, she's out in the RV,
yeah,
just going out to the lake. They go out to a campsite and are just out there. And she says that is a
yeah,
calming place for her, but
it is.
that is pretty cool. And I
Well,
think,
what I think it is it's leaving your familiar area.
yeah.
You get so accustomed to the everyday things that you see that you don't even notice them anymore. I was watching a YouTube video once, and there's a local gentleman who's a pastor, and he is colorblind,
Oh, yeah.
and his wife purchased for him those special glasses that allow you to see color. And he did a video of himself with the glasses on, seeing color for the first time. Well, what was strange about that is I've always seen color, but watching him see things. It was like I saw some of those things that he posted for the first time. He was
Yes.
so excited, and it made me realize that because I see it all the time and so frequently, I take it for granted. I don't really notice and appreciate it as I used to. But watching it through him, seeing it for the first time, and he was going around Muskegon, and I was like, "Oh, that's pretty." Like I roll by this thing every day, this mural, and I'm like, "I see this thing all the time. Why is it all of a sudden I'm just noticing it?" Because it was like an opportunity to see it again for the first time. So I think that's kind of what happens when you get away and go out in nature, and you just kind of take the moment to appreciate what's around you. You take the moment to slow down and notice, and that's kind of replenishing. It replenishes your spirit, your soul, so that's
Yeah.
just my thought on that.
So if one of the participants in Chicana Sister sent you an email, contacted you and say, I feel like my tanks are running low. What's your advice to help me refill, to help me get my energy back up? What would be your best refill advice?
I think my best refill advice would be to slow down, take a moment to just be still.
Hmm.
If it's an hour, if it's a half a day that you can take off of work, something where you can stop and just sort of think over the things that are important to you, reprioritizing what's important to you. If family's important to you, if your faith is important to you, then some of those things that you might be doing that are stealing your joy or stealing your strength and stealing your energy, maybe things that you can put on the back burner for a little while.
That's good.
So reprioritizing, really starting to think about what are the things that are important to you. The other thing that I would suggest is that you pray, that you
Mm.
ask God to help you to prioritize where you need to spend your energy. The idea that we're superwoman is a lie.
Yes.
From the pits of hell.
Yes. Yes.
and we often try to live into that. And I think it does us a disservice. It does those around us a disservice when we try to live into that superwoman mentality.
Right.
There are some things that are important to you, but reprioritizing those, slowing down long enough to re-engage with what's your priority, I would suggest that as a first step. And I think like the pandemic, and when we had to quarantine ourselves, to me, that was a time that everybody got the chance to do that.
Right.
And sometimes we have to take the chance to do that.
Hmm. Yeah, that's something that I have seen, especially in those early months where everybody was, locked down. And I was very intentional about, I'm not going anywhere. We got
Yeah,
food in the house. I don't have to go anywhere. But what I was surprised is how not having to go somewhere or do something was so freeing. It's like,
yes,
oh, okay. I actually have
yes,
time.
yes,
I actually have time to just be still.
yes,
And it has helped me to reprioritize some things as well, to say, okay, what do I really need? What do I really want? One of the biggest reprioritizations is shopping. I
mhm,
don't shop as much now. I probably need to take Amazon Prime off the easy click.
right.
But I don't shop nearly as much as I used to, which is a good thing for me.
Yes.
Well, we're just about ready to wrap up. I just want to say thank you to
Thank
my
you.
friend and
Thank
and
you.
Preach Sister friend, um, um, LaTanya Wheeler, who is the founder of Chicana Sisters. You can find Chicana Sisters on Facebook and Instagram. But thank you so much for being our guest, and thank you for sharing a bit of your story about what fills you up, and thank you for the transparency about that ministry can sometimes be hard, even though we know that we're
Yes.
called to ministry. We know that this is
Yes.
what God calls us to. But sometimes we can have passion fatigue because we're trying to do so much.
Too
And
much.
thank you for
Yes.
the advice about, hey, you know what? How about reprioritize?
Yes.
and let
Yes.
some things go, it will be okay.
It'll
So
be okay. Exactly.
it really will be okay. So
Thank you so much for the invite. I am just thrilled to be on Preach Sista. Preach Sista has been a blessing to me in ways I can't even begin to explain. And I just pray that God allows me to bless others the way that your ministry has blessed me.
Well, I can tell you, your ministry blesses me. And I know it blesses others because of all the different people who are signing up for the things that you have, and just because you do it with such love, and you do it sacrificially. So thank you for believing enough in yourself that what God calls you to do, that you're willing to take that step, even if it's a shaky step sometime.
Yes,
But thank you for taking that step. And when it's shaky, we just call one another and say, "Hey, okay, come on, let's get ourselves steady
That's right.
so that we can do this work."
That's
Well,
right.
I am Michelle Lloyd Page, the founder of Preach Sista, and you have been with us for Refill with Preach Sista. We'll see you on we'll see you on the first and third Saturday of the month. I can't even remember what day it is, but bye for now.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.